Welcome to Fireside Chat. My name is Sai. Let's talk about my Fat Fire strategy, which I started in 2016 when I was 29 years old, but I was pretty close to being 30 at that point. I paid off my debt completely at age 29, except for the mortgage. I started to develop a millionaire mindset by learning about the power of compound interest and the basics of investing. 2016 was the year I started to get serious about investing into the stock market. Before that, I just did the minimum contribution to my TSP, which is the public sector version of the 401k, and I barely saved any money in it over the course of 10 years. I did buy some stocks, but I had no idea what I was doing. What I realized is that my savings rate was way too low. I know a lot of people are focused on the stock market return, but when your contributions are too low, then your return will be low too, right? So for example, in 2012, I bought 4 shares of Amazon stock, and back then it was like $230 a share. And I held it until late 2013 when the Amazon share price went to $380 a share. I was like, holy crap, I got 65% in return and it was like $600 in gains before taxes. I know what you're thinking. Why the heck did I sell Amazon in 2013? I thought it was way overvalued at the time. If I still owned those 4 shares of Amazon right now, then it would be worth about $12,000 today. I'm not crying, you're crying. But that's when I started thinking, wait a minute, what if I have 40 shares of Amazon, 400 shares? I realized this 60% return from Amazon was really nice, but I needed more capital to make a larger return. That's also when I realized my income was not enough. I was making $2,200 every paycheck, and that was my take-home income. I started searching for a job in the private sector, and I found one that paid me twice the amount I made in the public sector. I was excited. My paychecks went from $2,200 to almost $4,500, and that's not counting my other side hustles. I developed a marketable skill in my 20s that eventually built a resume that companies viewed as valuable. I found online courses that allow me to earn certificates. I found my passion to build Excel products with numbers and formulas. You don't have to necessarily go back to school to get these certificates. You can find professional online courses way cheaper than a 4-year college or the master's degree. Now, let me show you the timeline of my FIRE in my 30s. You can download all of my FIRE resources on firesidechat.com/contact. Also, if you need help with your personal finances, you can schedule a free one-on-one 20-minute financial coaching session by visiting firesidechat.com/coaching. So I spent all of 2016 to fully fund my emergency fund, and that was shortly after I paid off my $110,000 in debt that I had accumulated over the years. By the end of 2016, I had contributed to my 401k up to the employer match and had 3 months of expenses saved in my emergency fund. And in the same year, in 2016, my FIRE number was about $2 million, and so that it was about $80,000 in passive income. Since I was transitioning to my new job, I didn't get a chance to max out my 401k contribution. In 2017, $18,000 went to my 401k and $5,500 went to my IRA, and those were the contribution limits during that year. That was a total of $23,500 to my retirement accounts. I budgeted my expenses after I have contributed to my retirement accounts. I kept my expenses low so I could save and invest more. I managed to save about $5,000 that year so we could go on to Disney cruise the following year. The rest of the money went to the taxable brokerage account. The taxable brokerage account wasn't a lot, but I still managed to save about $15,000 into the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, or ticker symbol VTSAX. In 2018, my net worth reached about $100,000. That was an exciting moment for me because I didn't think reaching 6 figures in investment was possible. As my income continued to go up, I started to diversify my investment portfolio from moderate to aggressive. I love investing in index funds like VTSAX and the S&P 500, but I wanted to buy individual stocks that I believed in, kind of like the stock that I talked about earlier with Amazon. Towards the end of 2018, the market started to take a downturn because the Fed raised interest rates out of nowhere. This is when I took the opportunity to buy individual stocks, but keep in mind this is after I have already maximized my contributions to the 401k and IRA. In the same year, I changed my FIRE number to $2.8 million. I reached 50% savings rate when I invested more into the taxable brokerage account. I had about 70% index funds and 30% individual stocks at the time. The first stock I purchased was Apple, and it was around $140 a share, maybe lower than that, and T-Mobile when it was around $70 a share. I didn't own a lot of shares, but I made some significant returns just from those two individual stocks. Another stock that I found was Tesla when it was around $200 a share. I don't have to tell you how well Tesla has done since 2018. I learned a lot about the individual stocks from reading 10K annual reports and 10Q quarterly reports, and I took notes from the annual or quarterly shareholders meetings and presentations, so I had an understanding of the company's business model and its potential growth. Fast forward to 2022, my investment strategy hasn't changed, but my marital status has. My wife and I will continue to maximize our retirement accounts with TSP, pension, IRAs, and HSAs. We're now saving over 65% of our income, and our goal is to save 70% of our income next year if it's possible. We should be halfway through the Fat FIRE journey by the end of 2023. So let me show you our FIRE calculator. Let's say we have $500,000 invested by the end of 2022, and that's if the stock market doesn't become bearish. We will still count on 8% average annual return, and we're both 35 years old, and our desired retirement age is 45, so we have 10 years to achieve FIRE. We would like to achieve Fat FIRE, so I put $100,000 a year for annual expenses, which comes out to $8,333 a month. Assuming we have no other income sources, which we will when we turn 55 and 60 years old, our FIRE number is $2.5 million with 4% withdrawal rate. In order for us to retire by 45, we need to invest at least $98,000 a year or $8,100 a month to achieve our Fat FIRE number. There are several variables in the spreadsheet, and the first thing is the stock market average annual return. The S&P 500 in the last 10 years was almost 15% average annual return. If I put 15%, then you see how the amount of money we need to save each year drops from $98,000 to $23,000. Since we're investing more than that every year, I could adjust my desired retirement age to maybe 43 years old. You see how our retirement will depend on the stock market return and the age we want to retire? This calculator helps us understand and estimate where we are on the FIRE journey and see if we're saving enough for our early retirement. Here are some things that could help you work on your Fat FIRE journey together. First, make a pledge between you and your spouse to always work on your finances together. You guys are a team, so you shouldn't hide your purchases. Financial infidelity is one of the leading causes to a divorce in the US. You should always have a plan together when one of you wants to make let's say a big purchase. Second, promise each other that you will never take out debt, and that includes carrying a balance on any of your credit cards. Everybody has a different view on credit cards, and I understand that. If you have a behavior with accumulating credit card debts, then cut them up and never use them. And if you use them right, then you could get some pretty awesome rewards. Third, I want you to learn to pay yourselves first and then pay your expenses later. The concept of pay yourself first is so new to many people because we're still trapped in our minds that paying our debt and expenses is more important than saving. I'm not saying that you should miss your mortgage payments or your bills. I'm saying that you should prioritize your savings rate. If you want to get ahead on your FIRE journey, you need to prioritize your savings rate and maybe start with 20 or 25% and then see if you can budget your expenses. Every dollar you're saving now could turn into $10 when you retire early. And lastly, if you're serious about the early retirement, 401k and IRAs will not be enough. You need to have a plan to invest in a non-retirement account like the taxable brokerage account or HSA, or find ways to increase your passive income in real estate. I want you to keep your financial goals in mind when you try to decide your retirement age. Feel free to use our retirement calculator to find out how much money you need to save each month to retire at 40, 45, or 50. So with that said, I appreciate you watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.